Welcome to another episode of Unscripted Coding. Today we're going to compare and contrast a few text-to-image generators. I'm sure you're all familiar with Stable Diffusion. We've talked about it a few times in this channel, and also DALL-E from OpenAI. These are text-to-image generators, which means they take a bit of text that you give and they generate original art. Now, I say original loosely. There's a lot of controversy around whether they've taken other people's image and styles to create their images. But let's not get into that controversy. Essentially, you're going to see a picture maybe spliced of different ones, but it will be unique to you. Stable Diffusion is this open source version of this text-to-image generator, and it gives you a lot of control, whereas DALL-E is more of a commercial enterprise. You're paying a couple pennies to generate these images. You see there are far fewer options than this open source version. You don't get to fiddle with it. You don't get the same customization, but you do get something quite robust right out of the gate. The new entrant here is Microsoft Bing's image creator, which does virtually the same thing. Now, the interesting part of this is that Microsoft Bing is really using OpenAI's DALL-E, but they're using a newer version of it. Microsoft and OpenAI have some sort of deal in the background, but essentially they're deploying a newer version of DALL-E even before it's out on OpenAI's site. What's even better is Bing is making this free. Now, you do have to apply, you do have to join a waitlist, you do have to kind of sit through it, but eventually it seems like the intention is to make this available for free to users of Microsoft Edge and Microsoft Bing. Now, you can see that I've put the same prompt to the three different versions, and each time we've generated 4 images. The prompt is a couch flying through space. I don't know why I chose that, but here is Stable Diffusion's suggestions, and frankly, I think they are the worst of the 3. But we'll talk about that in a moment. This is the 4 from Stable Diffusion, and then from DALL-E we have this one. This is quite nice, I think. This one's quite acceptable, and this one is quite nice too. Though, does this look like a person to anyone else? So maybe there's a bit of a background story there. Now, Bing, I think, looks the best, although OpenAI's DALL-E has is a possible contender as well. So, is that it? Is Bing the best, or Bing and DALL-E? Well, not really. This is where we're going to talk about what the pros and cons are here. Microsoft Bing makes this very easy, and I'm going to group it together with DALL-E. The reason is they also have GPT running in the background. And what that means is it understands plain English a lot better. If I decide to put a couch flying through space, zooming through Jupiter, and I want dramatic lighting, it will understand that in a plainer set of English. Whereas Stable Diffusion is trained much more on these prompts. So it may not really get it if you say a couch flying through space quickly past Jupiter. But it will do much, much better if you tell them a couch in the foreground with speed trails coming through the side, Jupiter in the background, different focus, different lenses being used, different layouts, widescreen, far shot, mid shot. I don't know what all those things mean, But the point is that if you give them the right prompts, what they've been trained on, it's a lot better. Whereas DALL-E and Bing seem to be running that in the background. It'll take what you've asked for, it'll take it, and then it'll create its own prompt in the background to create these images. So on that sense, Microsoft Bing and OpenAI have this much more intuitive system. You just ask it for what you want, and this is what, your non-technical friends might be a lot more accustomed to. That's what they're expecting out of this service. I just tell it what to do, and it's good to go. The problem here is twofold. Number one, it costs more. If you're using DALL-E, there's no doubt it costs way, way, way more than Stable Diffusion. In my estimates, anywhere from like 5 to 10 times more, but it does depend. Bing might change that. The other problem is you don't get a lot of customizations. You can see each one is watermarked. It's 1024 by 1024. Stable Diffusion, you need a beefy computer to get that, or you use a cloud service. But Stable Diffusion, theoretically, you can get much larger images than 1024 by 1024. Now, admittedly, when I'm doing it on my own computer, which is a decent enough rig, I'm only doing 768 by 768 resolution. So it's all in a box. They hand it to you. I don't think that's anything new. When you get open source, you get so many more. And I did a video going through some of these options. But if you want a different type of aspect ratio, so you want width larger than your height, if you want a very large image and you have the computer or you're paying a cloud service to do it, you're able to do it. You can choose different sampling methods. So, for example, if you do these four, you want a very wide variation, you might choose different methods, different number of steps to create different styled images. The other thing is that Stable Diffusion, at least the tools built around it, are really good at passing back and forth other plugins. So, for example, right on this main one, they have restore faces because we generate so many portraits and pictures of people, and faces, even in DALL-E and Bing, aren't perfect. So right away, you get a plugin to fix faces. Then you can send it to image, block out this sun, for example, or star, and ask it to put something else in this gap. You might be able to block this out or take existing images. And I think more important than that is that there is an increasing number of Stable Diffusion checkpoints and other people's trained models so that you can get something that's very stylized. So, for example, anime and manga have a lot of trained models so that you can get something with a very anime look as opposed to this realism. Now, if you ask DALL-E to make this a couch flying through space drawn in anime, it'll get that. But Stable Diffusion, there are people training it completely on millions, billions of images that are from anime shows, or specific movies, or whatever it may be, whatever style it may be. Whereas DALL-E will have a much more limited subset if, you're picking something that's incredibly popular, like anime, like manga. The other thing, and this is one that's a bit in flux, is that Stable Diffusion, at least Stable Diffusion 1.5, I think, some of the earlier ones, didn't have very much restrictions in terms of what you can create and what it was trained on. So, for example, if you want a deep fake image of Donald Trump, I don't think DALL-E will do a very good job of it. I don't think DALL-E will even allow it. If you want some restricted images, I'm thinking pornography, DALL-E definitely will not allow that in their terms of use. You are not allowed to do that. Whereas Stable Diffusion, being open source, doesn't have those restrictions. But that's changing a little bit. The official version 2 seems to have taken out, certain celebrities, certain styles of art, certain things. And of course, the community is always there to fill in the gaps, but you don't have that option at all. On the other hand, I did try to get different characters and to see whether that exists. So, for example, in Microsoft Bing, I asked it to take a look at Overwatch characters. I asked it to look at Arcane, Jinx from League of Legends. I asked it to do Ness from Earthbound and Super Smash Bros. Looks nothing like him, in my opinion. Ridley from Metroid and Super Smash Bros. So it is picking up on some of these. I didn't think it would allow me for all of these things, but I think the contention right now is real live celebrities. But, eventually they're going to get, especially these commercial solutions, they're going to get takedown notices when we start drawing, Mario or Sonic, or what other big name characters are there that, that costs money, that are people's IPs. Whereas an open source version, you probably shouldn't be doing it anyways, but skirts some of the legalities, some of the red tape. So, I hope that was helpful. That gives you a sense of which one to use. You can see from my history that, I've made use of all three of them, depending on what my needs are. And at the end of the day, what I found is that if you need something very quick and simple, DALL-E is the way to go. Just something quick for my blog. It doesn't have to look nice. It just is an image there for, SEO purposes. Versus Stable Diffusion, generally the simple, obvious prompt comes up with crappy results. But if I really want to fiddle with it and get something nice, say for a postcard or something, I could spend half an hour, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour fiddling with the prompts, running it, going back, fiddling with it again over and over to get the right result that I wanted. Well, I hope that was helpful. One of the challenges with doing these videos with AI is that you do this quick comparison, and 2 weeks from now, DALL-E will come out with a new version, or Stable Diffusion 2.2 or 2.5 comes out, and the balance is skewed. So, if you want to keep up to date, I am doing so many of these videos on AI, on NLP, on DALL-E. They're all really quite surface level, but I hope they're accessible and they help. So when things change, I will come back to this topic. Stay tuned for next week. We're doing more AI stuff, and for the foreseeable future, it'll only be punctuated here and there with projects. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you all very soon.